So hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Green Arrows. I have with me once again, in a Man United jersey, Mr. Zohair Khan. How are you doing, brother?
I'm very good, Mr.
Looking
Mustafa. How
really
are you?
happy. I'm really good. Looking really pumped up and happy today, huh?
Man, how can you not be? How can you not be?
Yeah, a brilliant result for United. Before we get into that, we'll just discuss all the games briefly. United, first of all, 5-2. Happy with that performance?
I mean, I think honestly, it's been since our restart one of our best performances. I think this was the game that made me the happiest because, sure, we had a great game against Sheffield. We had a great game against Brighton. We made a slog of it against Norwich. But this game, we went down. We went down to a team that came in, focused on playing a low block, focused on playing against on the counter. And it's something that we've struggled with pretty much for the past couple of seasons, not being able to break teams down like that. To see that response to come back, and just in the first half blitz, I was like, all right, man, I'm good. I'm really happy with this. And then even when they scored in the second half, just to see the response that the team gave, I think so far this has been one of my favorite games of the season.
It was more like the Fergie years, right? Like normally when you're a goal down during that time, you're like, no, we'll come back. But like recently, United games, when they go a goal down, there's anxiety and panic sets in.
That's it. I mean, for the last, like I said, for the last couple of seasons, it's been like, if we go down, if we concede that first goal, it's like the balloon immediately deflates. The ball immediately deflates. All the emotion goes away. People don't have that belief anymore. As a fan, that's what I perceive. That's what I feel when we would concede and be like, oh man, like at best we're gonna get a draw over here. It's very likely that we're gonna drop points. And you can see that in the team as well. That if they conceded first, there wasn't, there weren't any solutions. Like, how are we gonna come back from this? How are we gonna solve this problem? And it's great. It's really great to see them being able to do it again. Like you said, it's reminiscent of the Fergie years where, even if we went down, we would concede whatever it was, defensive mistakes, lapses. But there was enough attacking talent and there was enough attacking. How to put this, man?
Threats and
exactly, yeah. There was enough threat that you knew that it would be like, what? It's just a matter of time. It's not if we're going to score; it's when we're going to score and how many we're going to score.
Definitely, I agree with that. And Arsenal, man, were you shocked with that result? I didn't see that coming, especially after the lockdown, the way they started. I mean,
man, I don't know how to feel about Arsenal, man. Like, they're, like people say that, United's been blowing hot and cold this season.
Yeah.
Man, Arsenal has been blowing super hot and cold. Like they'll lose to a garbage team.
Yeah.
They'll play like trash, and then all of a sudden they'll come and they'll show up against a team that should be beating them. Like, I think Wolves are better than Arsenal this season.
Yeah, like I was really shocked with that result. Like I was tipping Wolves, maybe a draw, like the most what Arsenal would get out of that game. That's what I thought going into the game. But wow.
I mean, a clean sheet as well.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Well. I was surprised. I mean, listen, when I woke up and I looked at the table, I was like, you know what? Need a couple of favors over here.
Yeah.
I'd love for Chelsea to lose,
Yeah.
But, realistically speaking, but I'm like, I'll also definitely take Arsenal beating Arsenal beating the Wolves. Like,
Yeah.
I just want a little bit of separation. Things look a little bit close right now.
Yeah.
So it'd be really nice just to have a little bit of breathing room,
Yeah. But would you say, like, I mean, Arteta, like, so far it looks like he's going on the right track, but would you, like, I don't know what, like, Arsenal fans feel about this, but, like, would you think that it's, like, kind of like a false alarm? They still need to go and buy players and, like, in the summer, otherwise they'll have the same kind of season again next year?
100%. I think that Arsenal and United have very comparable situations.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm going to take some liberties, but new manager.
Yeah.
Former player, right? So first of all, you need to give these guys time because Arteta definitely has a very keen footballing mind. Pep wouldn't make him his assistant for no reason, right? He's got he's got currency with the players. They trust in him, they believe in him, and it's something fresh. That sort of stuff, it takes time. And it's the same thing. Their squad has a lot of dead weight in it, man. There's a lot of players in there that if you go back to the Arsenal teams of the early 2000s, these guys would not make those Arsenal teams. No way about it. Like, you're telling me, like, there's been some bad buys. There's been some players that came in, like, Mustafi is an example that comes to mind right away. On paper, before coming to Arsenal, solid buy. You know,
Yeah.
talented player, great. You know, great with Germany. I forget where he was playing before, but you know, he had a good rep about him. And you know, coming to Arsenal, he's been trash.
Yeah.
You know, like players like you can't have David Luiz anchoring your back line. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. You know,
Yeah.
so it's
And Ozil has been very disappointing for Arsenal, especially now. I think initially he was amazing. Like he was brilliant with Madrid, and initially with Arsenal there was like a lot of positivity there, a lot of glimpses of brilliance. But I think now it's just like the situation's gone to.
too much, too much. I think you definitely need at this point in time. You need to start like moving these players out. I think they've already started that project where they're trying to get rid of players that are no longer fitting their mold. I think it's going to be more cutthroat. But you know, there are players on there that don't merit their place anymore. You know, I know Ozil's an easy target to pick on, but if you think about it, how much he's making, if you're not starting week in week out, you know, what are you doing?
Those
If there's
wages are not worth it on the bench for him sitting on the bench.
100%, and it's like they don't have the sort of, you know, funds in place to be able to take that hit and be like, you know what, we'll just absorb this salary and it's fine. You know, we'll just move on and we can just pay someone else. No, you can't do that anymore. The league works differently. There's financial fair play. There's a lot of stuff going on. You know, you can't just have someone. I don't know what he's pulling in, 250K, whatever it is a week. It's like, come on, man. Like, you guys got to find somewhere. Either figure out how to, like, you know, I think, you know, blame falls on both sides, where it's like a player, you know, usually a player just doesn't disappear like that. So either it's a system thing, or it's like, finish. This guy is no longer an Arsenal player, and you guys have to figure out how to move him on. Take the hit, take the financial hit.
Hmm.
But having him on the team, you're just taking up a number at this point in time.
Yeah.
I think, like, to come back to what you're saying, man, they definitely need to do. They need to have a really good summer transfer window.
Yeah.
They need to, you know, move a few pieces around. Like I said, trim the dead weight, try to pick up some new exciting players,
Yeah.
and integrate them. And it's gonna be a long process, man. There's a lot of competition in the Premier League. The Premier League has gotten better since, if you look 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
We have a genuine top six. You can say arguably there's a top eight now.
Top eight, yeah, very competitive. But I have a question regarding the back. Like, will Arteta get that backing? Because we've seen Arsenal in the past. We've seen them go on these kind of runs, right? Last year they went to the Europa League final, even with Emery.
Right.
Under Wenger, you've seen runs. They've won the FA Cup as well, and then they don't build from that. Like, you know, there's still a center back missing, a striker missing, a right wing missing. Do you think Arteta will be back? Do you think he's that a type of manager who will demand and he'll be back to that hill? Because otherwise, right now he looks good. Like, I mean, with the resources he has, he's doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
But like, do you think if he doesn't get backed properly, it'll be the same? Do you think it'll be the same story as previous Arsenal managers?
100%. I think that if he doesn't get the backing,
Yeah.
he's not going to have the tools to be able to do the job.
Yeah, it'll be
Because
impossible. Yeah.
it's not a question of impossible. It's like, there's two parts to it, right? It's obviously what the manager brings, which is tactics, training, strategy, and then you have what the board brings in, which is your squad, which is your team, the players that you have in place, and you need both these sets of tools to work well together to find success. And if you look at it, man, like, I think Arteta's great. Obviously, he's fresh, so he needs time. He needs time, and they need patience to be able to be like, hey, you know what? This is your vision. This is what you want to do. All right, let's give you a season. Let's give you 2 seasons, because it's not like you were winning those previous seasons anyway. So I think, you know, if they do that, they back him for a season or 2. That's what it needs. And unfortunately, that's scary, man.
Yeah.
That's like look at us. We went through David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, but we chewed up managers and spat them up. And you can make the case that, sure, we let each one of these managers spend, but we didn't really back them over a long term.
Yeah.
Now, you know, obviously everything happened.
But could you have backed them long term? Somebody like a Mourinho, do you think it wasn't the environment getting toxic?
I'll be honest. Okay, so with Mourinho, I have a soft spot. I love Mourinho.
Yeah.
I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I would have liked for Mourinho to get a little bit of backing. Like, I know that it's always that Mourinho curse, that third season curse. And I think that it's just like, you know what, we could have backed him a little bit, because it's like, it's like we didn't back him. And then what is it? We brought in Ole around the December mark.
Yeah. Around that time. Yeah.
Around that time, give or take. And it's like, yeah, there were a lot of we basically had to write off that season, right?
Yeah.
So I would have been like, hey, you know what? Like, let's give this guy the season, figure out your shit, do what you want to do, try it out, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we're no better off than where we are now. I think the mid-season changing of managers, I'm not a really big fan of it. Obviously, if you're doing terribly, sometimes you have to make drastic measures. It's just unfortunately it's the easiest option.
Yeah.
The easiest option is for you to change the manager rather than make systemic changes, rather than really take the time to change your team around and bring in the right sort of players, get rid of the wrong sorts of players.
Yeah.
That's much more difficult. That takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
So coming back to Arsenal, I think that if they back Arteta, I think they can do well. You can see the foundations beginning to take shape. You can see what sort of football he's trying to play, and you can make the case. You can make the argument. I'll let the Arsenal fans do that, but you can definitely make the argument that with the right players, he could do really well. He might not be a Premier League winner, but he could still put together a very, very competitive team, and that's what you need. You want your team to be competitive. Obviously, like you winning stuff is always the goal.
Yeah.
But just having that, this guy, he brings joy back to the team. I think with the proper backing, he can definitely do that. I think Emery could have done that. I think Emery, there was a language issue. I think there was a language barrier. There was sort of like a Emery, because I've seen him for Sevilla, I've seen him for PSG. I like Emery. I think he's a good manager. I think he's very smart. I think Emery's problem is he's not very good at communicating. And when things are going right, when everything is working out, it's fantastic. But when things aren't going according to plan, that's when you need to be like, all right, you know what, guys, this is the plan, this is the vision, this is what we're trying to do, this we're trying to implement. And I think when you can't do that, you lose the players' buy-in. I think that's what happened with Emery. And then again, it's just like, from a board perspective, it's a lot easier to change a manager than it is to change the team.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really solid point there. I was going to go into the player ratings, but I have some interesting questions for you, like, because you've pulled up some like really good points and stuff. So let's just like go with the flow.
Let's just do it, man.
Yeah. So let me now the youngsters, right? We saw Greenwood's performance yesterday was absolutely brilliant.
Oh my days!
Right now he looks like the best youngster, but along with him, someone like Saka from Arsenal, even Foden from City, they're looking really good after the lockdown, and it looks good for England in the future. But are you really like surprised, like with someone like Greenwood, the way he's playing, and do you? I don't know. I know you're a Rashford fan, but doesn't he look better than how Rashford looked at his age?
So listen. I haven't said this out loud to anyone.
Yeah.
But there's a part of my brain. A part of my brain that's been making that comparison, and I've been thinking to myself, I'm like, man, this guy might be better than Rashford. This guy might be better than Rashford.
Van Persie 2.0, bro. Left foot and right foot.
Oh, man, just rockets. Like, I'll be honest, man. When he goes into the box, those weren't shots you score from. Or at least I haven't seen United players score from those sorts of shots in a long time. I'm not used to it anymore. I'll be really honest with you. Like, okay, man, you had the Tony goal, screamer. You can't. Yeah. No one's gonna stop that.
Probably the goal of the match. Yeah.
Goal of the match. Yeah. But those two Greenwood goals, man, just rockets, bro. Like, the goalie couldn't get to them. It's not like the angle was crazy. It's not like it was like a super dip or bend. It was just sheer power and just the confidence, man. It's crazy. Those step overs into the box, he makes them. He's got quick feet. He's got a great instinct, and he's just got this natural finishing ability that it's so great to see. I think he's definitely one of the best, if not the best youngster in like. He's the best young player in England right now, if you ask me.
Yeah, you would rate him higher than Foden and Saka.
I would rate him high. Yeah, no question about that. I'd rate him higher than Foden. Doesn't play, bro.
Yeah, I mean the thing with Foden though is like I think he's going on the right path because he has someone like De Bruyne to learn from. I think that's the thing with Greenwood. Would you have somebody like Sancho come in and do the same thing with what's happening with Foden and think, or would you just like let him loose and play him every game?
Man, I had this discussion with a friend of mine the other day where I was like, you know what? Do we just give Greenwood that starting right wing spot and call it a day?
Yeah.
But he made a good counterpoint. He's like, you know what, man? Think of it this way. He's like, obviously, Sancho is Sancho, right?
Yeah.
Sancho's also a young guy. He's not old.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're going to get this guy and you're going to hope that it works out. But he's like, also at the same point, it's great for depth.
Yeah.
Because right now, if Greenwood doesn't play,
Exactly.
who do we have on the right wing? We're going to play Daniel James? Not even. We switch Rashford onto the right wing and then play
Yeah.
Daniel James on the left.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree with that. I think we need to get like United have to get Sancho. Like it's not gonna work. Like with just Greenwood looks amazing right now, but like you said, if he's injured, it's done, man.
if he's injured, and man, he's young at the end of the day.
He's young.
Think
He's
about
18.
He's
Yeah.
18. Think about let's go back to Rashford. Let's go back to that comparison, right? Rashford came on his first season, unstoppable, unstoppable. But then he dipped, and that's
Yeah.
normal. You're a young player. You're
Yeah.
going to go through ups and downs and forms. You haven't figured out that consistency. Sure, there are players that are and these are like top tier players. You have your Mbappes, you have your Messi, but even like Ronaldo. Ronaldo was, a little bit hot and cold when he was young, and that's
Yeah.
fine, man, because
That's fine. Yeah.
you're figuring things out. So you have to factor, you have to buffer that in. That it's like, hey, you know what, this guy, he's amazing right now, but it could be that whatever happens in the off season, next season rolls around, he might have a bit of a slow start.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to put all that pressure
Yeah,
on a player. So yeah,
especially when the Champions League comes in and everything, he's not used to that. Somebody like Sancho's already played the Champions League. He's seen the pressure, he's seen the crowd and everything. So I think it's better to take your time and ease him into the starting 11. I wouldn't just play him every game.
100%, I'm with you, man. I think that you bring up a really good point.
That's happening with Foden right now. If you check City,
Yeah.
they didn't put him right in. Like he's playing now, but like he's been under De Bruyne's shadow, and De Bruyne's like the perfect like example.
I think it's such a great thing to have for a young player that, hey, you know what, I have this super talented, pretty much a legend. De Bruyne is going to be an all-time Premier League great, man. There's no way you can deny that.
Of course, yeah.
And if you have someone like that to learn from, how much better can that environment get? You have a good manager. You have a fantastic manager. You have a great team around you, and you have one of the best midfielders currently in the world playing ahead of you, and you're learning from them. I think that's something that United could have benefited from in terms of strikers. That when we had Zlatan imparted that knowledge to Rashford, Tony, our young guys. That's why you need to have these dressing room figures that, hey, you know what, people to learn from. And I think Sancho would be not necessarily a dressing room figure for us. He's a young guy. He could grow into a leader. But I think just having that competition, just having those levels, that there's always something to aspire to. It's like, oh, you know what? I played well, but that guy played better this week. What am I going to do to bring my level up to his? What do I have to do? What do I have to incorporate into my game? What do I have to learn? You just always want to have that, because if you don't have that, then it's not saying that it happens with every player, but people get complacent. People get complacent. They stop adding things to their game. They stop adding tools to their kit.
Competition is always healthy.
100% competition is always healthy. Always healthy.
And I don't know if you noticed this about Greenwood. What's striking me the most, like it's impressing me the most, is that he has two chances the whole game, and he just finishes them. That's what United was missing. Like something I was very critical about Rashford over the years, that he's not as clinical enough. Like his pace is amazing. He gets into positions. Even yesterday we saw him get into positions. He scored like a goal which should have been counted as offside. But like someone like Greenwood, bro, two chances, and if you notice something, he's some of his goals is going through the guy's legs. It's not making the defender, right?
Right.
He's done it like 3-4 times now. It looks like he's doing it on purpose. It doesn't look like it's like a fluke.
I mean, I think, like I said, right, we discussed this a little bit. I think it's just natural finishing ability, like
precise.
Man, just whatever he gets, man. It's like, you know what? This is the chance that I'm getting. I'm gonna make the best out of it. You look at, we keep on bringing up Rashford, and right now, like if you look at them, it's like, Rashford needs more chances to convert.
Yeah, definitely.
But Mason is whatever he gets, man, he's making do with it, and it's just like I said, like the goals he scored against Bournemouth, it's like you made that into a scoring opportunity. It's like obviously the shot was there to be taken, but any other player on the United team, do you think that they would have had as much of an opportunity to score from there? They would have taken the shot, but I don't think they would have been able to finish it like he's able to just naturally, instinctively finish these sorts of opportunities. I think, honestly, I'm just really happy to see it.
Yeah, especially with that power and accuracy. Moving on, I know you're a big De Gea fan, but bro, Uh, no, you can't
listen.
be beaten from the inside in the inner post like that. Like, and
Look,
twice, twice he was beaten. Like, one conceded a goal, and the second one, it was lucky it went off the post. But come on, what do you think?
man. Oh man. You
Like,
put me in, look. Okay, I'll be real.
just let
I'll be
me.
real.
What do you think about the? What do you think about the like mistakes? Like, I mean, I'm not judging him. Like, I'm not like I know he's a superb goalkeeper. I'm not saying that. Like, I'm being critical right now. I'm just like giving
Yeah.
you playing devil's advocate, and I'm
Yeah.
telling you, would you expect that from De Gea? Like getting beaten
Look,
like that?
I'll tell you. On the first goal, I don't actually blame him.
How? Why?
On the first goal, I don't blame him because look at the absolute calamitous defending
Yeah, Maguire.
that went on before it.
I was gonna get onto that, but yeah.
Let me just break that down for you. Okay, but let's be critical of Dea. First of all, I don't think it's that bad for a goalie to be beaten on the inside, on their inside post, because it depends on the shot. Like I've looked into this a little bit, and I know that I'm saying it right now to back up my guy,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that if you talk to if you like if you look at any interviews with goalkeepers about this and about the inside post, right, being beaten at your near post, they're like, man, sometimes if the shot is on point, the guy's gotten his angles right. It doesn't matter whether it's near post or far post. It's just that it is what it is. Like
But
you're
the
either
gap is like so small at the inner post. Like,
it is. I get you, and it looks bad. It's bad on a visual, but at the same time, it's like that goal. It was Stanislas, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Think
first one.
about it. Yeah, the first one. Megged Maguire.
Yeah.
Bro, as soon as he megged Maguire, I'm like, we're gonna concede.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on to Maguire, but yeah, that was like, I mean, that was the mistake. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That was the mistake. But for
Weak
me,
Lindelof header.
yeah,
Yeah. Wan Bissaka didn't close it out.
he didn't close
I
it
was
out.
just
Yeah,
looking at. I was like, man, you got to go for this. You got to create some pressure. And then I don't know what Maguire was trying to do, but whatever it was, it didn't work. He got megged, and as soon as he got megged, there was no space. So anything, 100%. Could they have done better? Yes, the argument can be made. He could have done better. But at the same time, the distance was so small, and the angles were perfect. Man, he snuck it into that gap, and that was it pretty much. And then, yes, can you put the blame on De Gea? You can, 100%. But I think the defending was more to blame than De Gea in that instance.
but what's worrying about that is I agree with you about like Maguire got nutmeg. That was like that was embarrassing. I agree with you, but my point is, and what's worrying is that
It's a trend.
the United had Phil Jones, they had Smalling, who made tons of mistakes. Okay,
Yeah,
over the years we've seen that, right? But De Gea has never beaten like this, like how he's been right now. Like I mean, against Spurs, and take this game, take this whole season. Um,
yeah.
I'm not saying he's making mistakes every game, but when he's making mistakes, I think it's not, it's stupid errors. It's not like him conceding a goal. Like I mean, if he concedes a goal like bad defending, like every like and like uh there's no way what he can do with the ball. I mean, this is like he can't save it. Like it's not in his reach. I agree with that. Like it's bad defending, but here it's in his reach, and De Gea normally saves those.
It is. So yeah, absolutely, I think, has he dipped? 100% he's dipped. And I think also we've just gotten so used to, Saint David.
Yeah.
We've gotten so used to him just stopping everything and having terrible defenders in front of him. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm
uh,
saying. Like, I mean, you're 100% right about the mistakes, but we've seen these mistakes before, and De Gea hasn't. But De Gea hasn't flopped like this. Like, yes, he's been beaten. United's lost games; they've come 6th, 7th place, but he hasn't been beaten like this. You know what I mean?
yeah, I agree with you. Like, if I put aside my blind loyalty, then
Yeah.
I definitely I agree with you that this season for sure it's been a lot, rougher to watch him.
Yeah.
There's been much more mistakes. There, like you said, there's mistakes that weren't happening before. That we were dealing with worse defending, and De Gea was still making all those saves. Was unstoppable, and now this season especially, he's looked human.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it's just a dip, if it's just a temporary thing, because his form for Spain has been garbage. So I can't even make that comparison that, on the international
It
level.
all started with that Ronaldo goal where he messed up in the World Cup. It all started from there in 2018.
In 2018, and I think that, yeah, like definitely this season he's dipped. He's getting beaten on chances that he wasn't getting beaten on before.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just fatigue.
Yeah.
It's just burnout where it's like, man, I've been doing this, every season, game in, game out. I can't
Yeah.
do this anymore.
Yeah, he might just not be there mentally because even De Gea is one of the best at getting the ball out, right? Like what do you call it? Like clearing it and like making building plays from the back, right? Starting plays from the back. He's really good at that. But right now he's like putting pressure on his defense as well, like with like rushed passes and stuff from the back as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if your goalie isn't able to play out from the back, especially in today's football, it's a major issue, man. It's like because you're basically creating a 50-50 possession as your first possession. Like, let
Yeah.
me just launch this ball upfield
Yeah.
and see what happens. See who gets it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, part of me just wants to go, like, you know what? Like, just it's all good. He's gonna come through. But part of me is also worried. It's like, is this something that we can stop in the off season? Sure, whatever happens this season happens. But is this something that we can rectify between now and the beginning of next season to bring him back to his level of form? We talked about this last time. It's what do we do with Dean Henderson?
Yeah.
Do we
And I
bring in
agreed
Dean
with you
Henderson?
last time, yeah, like that we should like ease him in, like not bring him
Yeah,
straight away because it
yeah.
could be the same problem again. Like he might make mistakes. He's not exposed to the big games. It could be the same.
It's different when you're United starting goalie, versus Sheffield starting
Sheffield,
goalie.
yeah.
Um,
But the only
but
problem is with De Gea, it's like recurring now, right? Like I
yeah,
mean, I was fine with the Spurs mistake, kind of like me personally,
yeah,
but like now it's getting a bit like
yeah. It's been something to worry about.
yeah,
Pretty much all season, but it's kind of becoming, especially like the restart has just happened now, but it was something that was constantly being discussed. It's like, what, these are pretty straightforward errors that are being made. What do we do about them? There is an argument to be made that let's give Romero a run out,
yeah,
because Sergio Romero is, I think, by far the best backup goalkeeper in the Premier League.
backup,
By
yeah,
far, by
yeah,
far.
yeah.
So I think that argument could be made as well. It's like, do you give Romero a chance? But at the same time, right now, it's like, you guys are winning. Do you upset a team that's winning?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a tough question.
Yeah.
I know I rambled a lot, but I don't really have an answer for you, man. I don't know what to
Yeah.
do about it here.
Yeah. I mean, like only time will tell, but like I just wanted to put it out there, like because it is a concern. But like, let's just move on to the defense.
Yeah.
Maguire was awful, man. Like I wouldn't even give him like a 3 for that performance. Like, and I actually rate him. I think he's a solid defender, but like his major problem is one-on-one. So like, yeah, he does have lack of pace, but like one-on-ones, he gets beaten too easily. We saw that against Spurs, and now again against Bournemouth.
Man, listen, he's definitely an upgrade. It's
He
a
is, yeah.
it's a purchase that needed to be made. It's a player that we had to get, and it is what it is. But at the same time, it's just like, yeah, like you need to put someone alongside him that's going to cover his lack of pace. You're going to need to put someone alongside him that's going to be able to.
But I remember you suggested Bai, but did you see what he did with the handball?
Oh man, listen, wasn't that more Matic? Wouldn't you put the blame for that on
Matic? It was Matic's fault 100%, right? Like, and that's why I wouldn't rate like Matic's performance highly. But Bai, that's the problem with him. Like, he's so good, like he's fast, everything, but he makes like crazy errors, like out of nowhere.
Man,
Like he
sometimes
put his hand out like that. And like even the handball call was a bit like, think VAR had to look into it. Like you could say it could go either way. But man, like he just suddenly put his hand out there.
I mean, listen, I think it was a rough call because he was in the air, he was full extension. His arm wasn't that far out. It wasn't like the Adam Smith penalty, which just kind of just left his arm trailing behind him. That was a lot more egregious.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. As soon as I saw it, I was like, man, like I've been hyping this guy up, and as soon as he comes on, it's the first thing he does. I was like, all right, great.
I'm not that critical of him because like I do like his pace, and I think he's good. But this is the biggest problem. Like there's one mistake out of nowhere, like out of nowhere. And if you look at the rest of the game, like I mean, he came on the second half for Lindelof, and I think Lindelof had a decent first half. But if you look at after that mistake, he played really well. Like he played decent. He was better than Maguire. But it's just that mistake. It cost you a goal. It could have cost you the game. It could have been a tie. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the problem. Like as a defender, like when you make an error like that.
Yeah, that's the issue.
It's like, oh man.
It's like you're doing everything. Like you have three-course meal, and then like in the dessert you put like salt in it or something like that. Like
Yeah, that's it, man. I think that's the issue in his game, right? It's just like he makes rash decisions. He makes
Yeah.
decisions that don't really make sense.
Yeah.
Um, so that needs to go from his game, man. It needs to go from his game. Like that's why Lindelof starts over Bailly,
Hmm.
because I think sheer talent, Bailly has him beat, no problem.
Hmm.
But Lindelof is just more consistent. Lindelof is just like, you know what? I might not be spectacular, but I'm going to give you decent every game.
Hmm.
You're not going to get these ridiculous errors like jumping up and trying to take it down on your arm, and just like like these Baillyisms that happen. Like
Yeah, that's what it is.
you don't get that from Lindelof, and I think that's what gives him the starting spot over Bailly right now.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see Bailly get a consistent run out of game, because if you look back, that season where we finished second with Mourinho,
Yeah.
that was Bailly, man.
That was by, yeah.
That was
But that's what I'm
Bailly.
saying. Yeah, yeah, it was. His two major concerns are like that. What I said, like ridiculous mistakes, like once in a blue moon, and injuries. But I think when he's fully fit, and he can improve on that. It's not like he can't, right? Like so. Uh, I think if he gets a
100%.
good, he gets a good run. I think like Maguire as well needs to learn from his mistakes. The good thing about Maguire, he's a leader. Like he'll shout, he gets the team together. He'll tell you off if you're wrong and everything. He's not probably the most naturally gifted at center back, but I think he can work on that as well. But like yeah, he can't be making mistakes like these consistently. He needs to
Yeah,
improve more.
I think generally speaking, his positioning is solid. He
Yeah,
reads the game well. He
yeah,
makes up for his lack of pace. He doesn't usually get burned that often
yeah,
for being a slow center back,
yeah,
and he commands the back line, which is really important. We're missing that commanding presence in the back line to be like, hey,
yeah,
you know what, guys, this is what we're doing. This is the direction. This is what we need to do. This is how the game is changing. This is what we need to do in order to stay on top of things. I think that's priceless, and we've been missing that. We've been missing a leader. We've been missing a leader, because you need a leader in your defense. You need a leader in your midfield. You need a leader in your front line. We've been missing leaders across the pitch. And I think
yeah,
the biggest change has been is that we've got these leaders now. You have Maguire, who even if he makes the occasional mistake, even if he's not the quickest, like, is he worth 80 million? No way. No way he's worth 80 million.
yeah,
I think Van Dijk easily has him beat
yeah,
all over the
100%,
pitch. All
hundred
over the
percent.
pitch. It's not a
Yeah,
comparison. If
yeah,
you compare him to, let's say, someone like Sergio Ramos,
yeah.
no comparison.
Well, Ramos is killing it on penalties these days.
Bro, Ramos is scoring more goals than strikers.
Yeah, every game I see his name on the score sheet. But yeah, I agree with you. That's a good point. I think somebody like a Koulibaly would be crazy like partner for Maguire.
Ooh.
That would be like the perfect like partnership. But I see what you're saying about Bailly, because you can't afford so many players, right?
Yeah.
So you have to try to make do with what you have. So I agree with that. And just two more topics I just wanted to touch on before we end this. One is the competition out there. Chelsea, Leicester dropped some points midweek. Perfect for United. They're now 2 points off Chelsea and 3 off Leicester. How do you see that panning out? Lampard, and how do you see how do you rate Lampard's season so far, and what do you think they'll do in the future?
I mean, honestly, I think Lampard's been phenomenal for Chelsea this season. I think he's been a revelation. I didn't think he'd do so well to come in his first season. His first season, right? Yes, his first season.
Yeah, first season, and no transfers and everything.
No transfers. He had everything stacked against him. He had, not, like you said, not able to make any transfers. I forgot about the transfer ban. Not able to make any transfers. Fresh manager, doesn't really have much experience. Thrown into the deep end, managing Chelsea. It's a difficult place to be, man. Like, you have very little leeway with Abramovich. He's known to chop and change managers pretty much every season. I think he's been fantastic. I think he's done a really great job of bringing along the youth and showing Chelsea fans and showing people across the league that, hey, you know what? Don't write us off just because, we might not have necessarily the biggest names. We weren't able to go get everyone, but I think he's done a really, really good job. I think there's a couple of players that haven't panned out for them. I think Kepa's a waste.
Yeah, he's a waste. He made some poor mistakes in the West Ham game, which I saw.
Terrible. I think Kepa's a waste. I think their defense needs work, but they have enough pieces in place that they're going to be really dangerous. And man, next year they're going to be insane.
Ziyech and Werner. But that defensing point you made, it's a very crucial point, because against West Ham, if you saw, they dominated that game. They should have won that game.
Yeah.
But the third goal, how did it come? They were over attacking. Like, they didn't have like a midfield. Either they're all in the front, or if they're playing like someone against City, like someone like City, they're all at the back and they play on the counter. There's no middle like transition game with Chelsea. Like either they're on the front foot or the back foot. There's no middle ground. I
That's
think
it.
that's the issue, and maybe somebody like they need to fix the defense for sure, but maybe a couple more signings would improve them.
I mean, I think that it would definitely help them if they picked up another center mid,
Yeah,
because they have Conte right now. They have Conte, they have Jorginho.
yeah,
Um, and then you have a rotating cast. You have Ross Barkley, you have Mason Mount, you have all
yeah,
these guys that come in. But I think that a solid center mid would really help them.
yeah.
I mean, now having someone like Timo Werner come in, that's gonna be that's gonna be a huge benefit for them, because it's like, if you think
Yeah.
about it, they've been making do with Tammy Abraham. I personally don't rate him that much.
Mm.
I know some people they think of him highly. I don't think he's all that. He never showed me anything to be like, oh, this guy's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
I think he's a serviceable striker. I think he's a good backup option. He's a good squad player, but other than that, like, he's not the guy that you want leading your line. So let's see if they pick up. Well, they're getting Ziyech and they're getting Werner,
Yeah.
and then I think there's some talks that they were negotiating for Havertz.
There are some talks. Yeah.
If they get Havertz, then I'm scared. Then I'm worried, because that's a solid. Like, if they don't pick up anyone else, they don't need to. Those three players by themselves would really help. But again, I think it would really help them if they put some money into their back line. If they, I mean, you're not gonna. I think the problem with someone like, replacing someone like Kepa is that when you spend so much, what was it? They spent like 70 million or whatever it was on him. I forget the exact number. And when you spend so much, you're kind of like in this weird place where you're like, do we replace him? Because it's like that effectively means that you're writing off that investment, right? That you're like, you know what, this money that we spent is down the drain, because you're not going to get that back. Maybe you'll get 30 million from him, 40 million from him, but it's not like he's played so well that it's going to justify a ridiculous transfer fee like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And who do you feel is? Do you think Chelsea will be a bigger threat than United next year? No, huh?
No, I don't think Chelsea are a bigger threat than United next year. Let's just I think the best way to look at it is just to be like, hey, you know what? Let's see who walks in from their team onto ours and who walks on from our team onto theirs. And I think that it's close.
Yeah.
It's close, but I think we're better. I think we're better up front.
Yeah. The only thing is that they've made signings and United have yet to. So, like, I think we'll have a better.
We'll have a better view once we know who we're picking up. Right?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that sums it up. And top four, United and Chelsea to go through, Leicester and Chelsea to go through, Arsenal out of nowhere. What are your I mean, this is gonna keep changing every week, but like for now, what is your thought?
I think just based on form for the last couple of weeks, I think Leicester's going to drop out.
Yeah, even if you look at the fixture list, United have a better fixture run than Leicester, and then they play each other on the last day. That will be intense.
That's a crucial game. So I think that Leicester has the biggest possibility of dropping out of the top four, as opposed to Chelsea. I think with United, with the current run that they're on, I think we can make top four. It's just going to be it's going to need consistency. It's going to need playing week in, week out the way we have been playing. Finishing teams off, putting them to the sword. I think that's what we need. And I think if we keep doing that with the slightly easier fixture list that we have, and with that sort of, if you want to call it a game in hand against that last game against Leicester, if we can keep the pressure on them throughout the remaining games, then I think we have a very, very, very good chance of making the top four. It's 3 points between us and Leicester, 2 points between us and Chelsea. I think that, like I said, I think Leicester drops out, and then it's between United and Chelsea for third and fourth.
Yeah, and
I think Arsenal coming up, that's tougher.
I think right now, United would be supporting Arsenal in every game, because if they beat Leicester on Tuesday, it's going to open it up big time.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and it'll get United into the top four, like if they beat Villa. But yeah, I think with United, you're right. There's no margin for error now. I think they have to keep going like what they're going, and just keep putting the pressure. And then Leicester might just succumb to that. I think that's a good point. And just lastly, your thoughts on Ole. I mean, like right now, you can't really criticize him, but there has been criticism over the past. Like, tactically, he's not astute. Like, he's a really good man manager. Like, he knows how to boost morale. But is he a manager? Do you see him for more years, or would you get somebody like a Pochettino or somebody like that who's tactically more astute and who can build teams and who has that experience?
I think that, you know what, like I think, why would you replace Ole if it's working?
Hmm.
Because
I mean,
it's
there
like,
has been like the only criticism which I've heard about him is that he's like, I mean, you wouldn't sack him necessarily, make him director of football or something, because like he has good eye for talent. He knows the United way. I
yeah.
mean, and I think the main thing about him, like not the criticism, but like the main praise I have for him is, if I don't know what you feel about this, but like under Van Gaal and Mourinho, the football was boring, right?
Hmm.
Like there were games where it was exciting, like against City 3-2 and everything, but in general, the football was boring. But again, under Ole, like even when he drew against Spurs, it was like good football. You know what I mean? Uh, Last year when they lost to Arsenal, when Ole was in charge and they broke the run, it was still good football, watchable football. So I think he's brought that back, that good feel good factor back, right?
100%. I mean, is he the most tactically astute manager? No, I don't think he's not like Pep 2.0. He's not one of these
No.
crazy managers. But I think he's got enough working for him, and I think most importantly, he's figured out what's important for the club, and he's brought back that feel good factor. I think the biggest impact that Ole has is on the attacking end of the team, because he
Yeah.
himself has that experience that he can depart to them, he can share with them. But to to come back to your question, do you replace Ole with someone like Poch?
Yeah.
I think it really depends on how he finishes this season. If we make top four,
Then you give
then
him another
then,
run.
then you give him another season, because it's like you saw what he was able to do with the proper backing,
Hmm.
right? Comes back to what we were talking about earlier. You got to back your manager. You got to be like, hey, you know what? You need players. All right, let's come together. Let's come up with a vision. Let's come up with a strategy, an overarching strategy, that this is how we want to play. This is what we're about. And then let's build on that. Let's not be like, okay, what players do you want as a manager? And then, okay, let's say we get rid of Ole. Poch comes in and Poch goes like, well, no, I don't want these players. I want new players. That's what
Hmm.
we've been. We've been in that cycle where it's like we had Moyes. Moyes picked up some players. Then Van Gaal came in. Van Gaal's like, I don't like these players. I want new players. We got new players again.
Hmm.
Mourinho came in, new players again. Then this has
Yeah.
been constant turnover, right?
Yeah.
You need consistency. You need players to play for a couple of years before they can really gel together. Sure, you get players that make an immediate impact like Bruno.
Yeah.
But think about it, players like Fred. Fred was garbage when he came.
Yeah.
And he's worked his way into playing well,
Yeah.
right? All these players, like sometimes players just need time. When the squad's unbalanced, when you're not doing well, it's difficult for players to do well. But when you're in a winning environment, it's easier for players to be like, all right, you know what? There's less pressure. It's like, all right, I just need to focus on what I'm doing. These guys are all doing well. I can do well too. But when everyone's doing badly, when you're doing badly as a team, there's just so much negative, there's so much negativity, there's just so much pressure that I think that breaks a lot of people, and it just creates like a really bad toxic environment. And I think what Ole has done is
And it could go like way down south. That's what we saw with Mourinho. He's tactically amazing, isn't he? Right, like Mourinho.
exactly,
But that's what happened. Like people say, like Ole's job was easy. Like he has like, I mean, not easy, but they were saying like, I mean, all he had to do was bring the morale up, lift the morale. But that's the same thing four managers before him, like after Ferguson, couldn't do. So
exactly,
he's doing something which we haven't seen since the Ferguson era, right?
exactly.
So you have to give him credit for that. I feel like I mean I agree with some criticism, but like you have to give him the praise where it's due.
That's it, man. And like it's. I think the biggest criticisms against him are the fact that he's not experienced. He's not that tactically astute.
Yeah.
But those are things that he can learn.
Yeah, he'll learn. Like he will make mistakes with the subs as well. He will make issue in the lineups he didn't start Pogba in the first game against Spurs. Like you could say that it was you could criticize him for that, but I would also say like Pogba was returning from injury. But like you said, those things he will improve. Like next game straight up he started Pogba, right? We've seen managers like Ozil hasn't started till now, so we've seen like managers doing different things. But like right now he's learning from his mistakes, and I think he'll continue to do that.
That's it, man. I think right, like he's trending in the right direction. I
Yeah,
think we're doing well.
yeah.
I personally I would keep him. I think that it would be a shame if we let him go and went and got Poch just to be like, let's get a bigger manager.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect. I agree with you. And to end the show, your prediction for the United Villa game, next game,
Ooh,
away from
ooh.
home.
away from home, man. I mean, we've been killing it, man. So I think that we're gonna win. I think we're gonna score a couple of goals.
Couple of
I'd
goals.
a couple of goals. I'd love to see 3-4 goals.
Jack Grealish might want to prove a point and to United especially to sign him up for the next season.
Do we need to sign him?
Squad player. Squad
You're
player.
gonna get Grealish as a squad player.
Squad player. But that's the problem. He wants to yeah, I know.
He wants
like,
to come in the start, and
yeah.
there's, it's funny that you mentioned Grealish, but I don't know if you saw the video. It was Hinacho and Didi from Leicester.
Yeah.
They're talking in the dressing room, and they're like, "How many did Greenwood score?" And it's like, "Man, this guy Bruno is always scoring. This guy Bruno is always scoring." So it's like it went from being like we absolutely need Maddison. We have to get Maddison regardless of what happens, to being like, you know what? We don't really need him. And
Yeah.
I think the Maddison, the Grealish one. I think it'd be great to have these players.
Yeah.
But you
only if
have
they're willing to come off the bench, right? Like,
only if they're willing to come off the bench or
you
say,
need.
hey,
I think you do need squad. Like, I don't know which
For
player
sure.
you'll get, but you will need squad depth because Bruno can't play every single game next season.
Absolutely. Let's say we make Champions League. Even if we don't make Champions League and we're in Europa League, that's still a midweek game. Excuse me. You're still going to add to your fixture list. You're going to be expecting to compete for the cups. I don't know what they call the EFL. That's what they call it now.
Carabao.
Is it Carabao? No, Carabao, Carling, whatever. You know what I'm talking
Carling
about.
Cup. Yeah, Carling Cup.
Yeah.
That's old school. Yeah.
That's it. So it's like, that you're going to be playing for that. You're going to be playing for the FA Cup. You want to compete for the Premier League. And you're going to be playing in Europe, whether it's Europa or Champions League. It's still fixtures, right? So 100%. You have your starting players. You also need squad depth. I think that's where players like Fred, McTominay are very, very important. I think that's where getting rid of players like Lingard and Pereira and replacing them with higher quality talent is crucial to win those games, to rotate, to give other options, to create that competition that we talked about earlier, and be like, hey, you know what? Sure, Bruno, you're playing amazing, but your spot's not safe. You need to keep playing amazing, otherwise we have Grealish, and he wants your spot.
Again, like you said, competition for.
I think healthy competition is the best problem that a manager can have.
Yeah, definitely. So that sums it up really well. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we'll do the player ratings on another episode. But best of luck for the next week, and I'm sure you support it. You're going to be wearing an Arsenal jersey on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course, I have to go dig through the bin and find one.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. I think that'll be a good result for United. It'll be a great one if Arsenal can get something off Leicester. But okay, I'll catch you on the other side. Take care. Have a good day.
Take care, brother.
Take care.
Speak to you. Ciao.
For sure.